Okay, next item on the agenda, Dr. Pope.
Lauren.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
Lauren, I would hope that you would do the same thing that you're doing here on the City Hall campus with the fire department, police department, all the other departments that are about the city, all the fire stations.
We plan on doing it. We just wanted to try one, make sure that get all the kinks worked out so that we could implement it all the way across.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thanks again for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have announcements of other upcoming meetings and events. First, Nathan Nicholas talking about our February 27th work session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 27th, the council will be having a work session. And at that work session, we'll be discussing sales tax F revenues, which will be just starting to come in at that point in time. And what we intend to do is lay out the plan as to how that money will be spent over the course of the next 6 years and what projects will be done when. Give the council an opportunity to look at that list and adjust, move things up, move things back as they see fit. And that's something we plan to start to do every year, probably about this same time, so that the council will kind of always know what's in the works and what's kind of in the long-term projection of how that everything's going to go. And so that's only obviously a piece of everything, but it's a pretty big chunk. It's probably the largest chunk of our capital expenditures.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Any questions for Nathan on that? Moving on, I have two reports tonight from Chief Schrader. Chief.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to announce that the police department's first public presentation of our HOPE program, and by HOPE I mean heroin overdose prevention and education, is scheduled for this Thursday, February 9th at 6:30 at the First Assembly of God Church on Route C, across from Schnucks. We've had several officers working several months on this program. I acknowledge St. Louis County Police Department as we're a great aid to us in putting this program together. We've had an increase in heroin overdoses, and we think this program will go a long way to help our community. And it'll be Thursday night, 6:30, First Assembly of God. Secondly, there will be a severe weather class on Wednesday, February 8th at 6:30. It's scheduled to go from 6:30 to 9. And that will be in the police department training room. That's at the southwest corner of the police department on Monroe Street. And the National Weather Service will have a representative there to aid in that presentation.
Okay, any other questions of Chief?
Chief, could you the HOPE program? Could you say again when and where that presentation is going to be?
That is Thursday, February 9th, 6:30 at the First Assembly of God Church on Route C.
Chief, how long would it take to make a report on HOPE at a meeting such as this?
Kind of critique.
I mean, in other words, like the class that you're going to have Thursday, how long does that normally take?
Well, we've just had a trial run, so
Okay.
We anticipate 2 hours. It could be
Okay.
1.5. It could be 2.5.
Over time, I would like to have a special council meeting on just that subject, 'cause I think that's a huge deal right now for our community. Any other questions or comments of Chief? Seeing none. Chief, thanks for both of those reports.
Thank you.
Moving on, presentations from the gallery. We have signed up Laura Ward to talk to us about the Neighborhood Reinvestment Act. And next on the agenda, I have Phil Freeman, who is also signed up about the Mulberry neighborhood. Laura, welcome tonight. Please state your name for the record, and you have 5 minutes to make your presentation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Laura Ward, and I live at 115 West Atchison, Jefferson City, Missouri, 65101. I'm here tonight to express my my support of this change in language to this ordinance 2011-149. The change in this language would allow those who currently live in Old Town and have restored a home possibly and lived there for over 5 years to then purchase another home in Old Town and restore it and also then live there within 5 years. We did live in Old Town and we purchased a home on West Main Street and restored it and lived there for 13 years. And when another home here in town that I've always admired came on the market, which is a pre-Civil War home. Well, not pre-Civil War, 1868. It was built right after the two brothers returned from the Civil War. And it's on the National Register. When it came up for sale, we worked for 15 months to purchase it. So everything fell into place, and we were able to sell our home to a nice young couple who were renting, and they lived out of Old Town. So we increased the numbers by the sale of our home, and we would like to now restore 115 West Atchison to its glory once again. It's a beautiful home. We are so excited to be there. Any questions?
Any questions, Laura? Thanks for being here tonight. We'll
Okay.
be discussing this bill later. Coming up next, I have on the list Mr. Phil Freeman. Phil,
Mayor.
welcome tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council. I'm here to request your consideration on two different bills. One of them is 2011-145, and that is the acquisition of the Mulberry Apartments. Quick history on this. Melville was able to get a grant from the floodplains to acquire property that was currently in the floodplain. The Mulberry Apartments qualified for that. I made contact with the owners last summer. They were initially interested. We had the property appraised. They did not care for the appraised value, and they declined. The property was then sold. There was a fire in these facilities on one of these buildings back in November that reopened the negotiations. I was contacted by the owners wanting to know if we would be interested in making an offer again. They had to be reappraised. They were reappraised for the first appraisal without the fire damage was $375,000. They were reappraised for $340,000. I brought the owners in and gave them the offer. They rejected that. I said I would make some phone calls to see if we had the possibility of some other donations. I was able to secure another $10,000 in private donations, brought the owners in and told them that would be the last offer. They have accepted that offer. The Mulberry Apartments are at 605, 609, and 615 Mulberry Street. They used to be known as the Walker Apartments. I think the police chief and the fire chief can probably give you some details as to those buildings. We have entered into an agreement with them. The buildings are currently being vacated. I think you introduce this tonight and you'll vote on it in 2 weeks, and I would encourage you to support Resolution 2011-145 to acquire the Mulberry Apartments. What will be done once those buildings are acquired, they will be demolished and turned into green space and or a park. So that is one thing that we're acquiring in Old Town, and once again I would encourage you to approve that resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that one before I go on to the next one.
Any questions for Phil?
Very good, thank you. On a side note, if you probably saw, we had an open house last week at the Old Town Center on the corner of Clark Avenue and Atchison Street. Melville got a grant about a year ago from HUD. It used to be called the Dammel property. Homer Cavett owned it. Property had been vacant for probably 25 years. Melville got the grant. We acquired the property. The grant allowed for stabilization, new roof, weatherproofing. We entered into agreement with a group of churches led by the First Methodist Church, First Methodist, First Presbyterian, Grace Episcopal, and Central United Church of Christ. They rehabbed the interior of it. We had a ribbon cutting last week. The churches are opening a community center in that area. And on the second floor, the Halo Group will operate. Halo Group is a group that works with orphans in Africa. They'll occupy the second floor. It's turned into a community center. When Old Town first started, we targeted the 800 block of Clark Avenue as a block. We've also targeted the 600 block of East McCarty as 2 blocks that we would like to concentrate our efforts in. Since that building has been rehabbed, there's a building across the street that's being remodeled by private ownership. There are 2 Habitat homes being remodeled in that area, and we're seeing a lot of progress in that area. So that building, we did have an open house last week, a ribbon cutting, and that building is now a viable community building, and we are certainly excited about that also. Lastly, on this issue, I'd like you to consider approving your Bill 2011-149, your down payment assistance program. Laura just spoke out only about that. This was started 2 or 3 years ago. where we give owners who move into the Old Town area. Old Town, as you all defined, is Clark Avenue on the east, Dix Road on the west, Stadium on the south, the river on the north. If a person or family person moves into Old Town, acquires a property, this allows for them to get $5,000 down payment assistance towards the acquisition of that property. In return for that, they have to agree to live in that facility or that building for a minimum of 5 years, and when it's sold, it has to be sold as residential and not rental. During the last several years, we've had approximately 10 of those. Laura's asking to waive that to where people who have done it before, and if they sell their property, can do it again. I certainly support that amendment to it. This is a tool that we have been using to enhance Old Town and bring people into the Old Town. It's one of the many tools that we're trying to acquire as we rejuvenate the Old Town one building at a time. So I would encourage you in both 2011-145 and 2011-149 to approve both of those. I'll be talking to you a little bit later about something else. Is there any questions that I could answer for anyone?
Carrie?
I have a comment as the liaison to the Old Town Commission, how impressed I am with the work this group has done. The Old Town revitalization, it's so evident in the ribbon cutting at the community center to see a building that's been vacant for that long, for 20 years or more, and to put it back into service in the way that your group has gotten the ball rolling on that is really impressive, and it's spurring other development in the community. So thank you for getting that going.
And we'll talk later about what else we can do. I should also tell you, Melva and I have a great working relationship. She does all the work and I take all the credit. And so we are doing very well because, folks, we are doing this on the grants that she's able to find. We don't have a real substantial, but we don't have a budget. So Melva's just a wizard of these grants. She does a great job, and I certainly want to compliment her in front of you on the ability of her ability to acquire these grants for these particular projects. Other questions?
Phil, thanks for your leadership and your passion for Old Town.
I'll be back.
All right. And Melva, I want to thank you, too, on behalf of the council for everything you're doing there. It's a great opportunity to better our city right in the heart of it. Moving on to the consent agenda, we'll now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same side. Motion passes. Moving on to bills introduced. We'll have first reading of 2011-139.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the City Code, Chapter 32, assigning sidewalk deferral appeals to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Currently, sidewalk appeals are heard by the City Council. This bill would assign that task to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They are the body that first hears the plans, and the applicant tells the Planning and Zoning Commission whether they agree to the terms that the staff has agreed to or not. So those issues are already worked out. It makes logical sense that the Planning and Zoning Commission should be the one to hear that, as well as it separates the rule makers from the enforcers.
Any questions for Drew on that? Moving on to 2011-140.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a termination of water service agreement with Missouri American Water Company.
Mr. Hilpert.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is an agreement with Missouri American Water. Now that we're doing all the billing for ourselves, if one of our sewer customers becomes delinquent, this contract sets out the process whereby we could have the Missouri American terminate the water. It lays out all the provisions. There's certainly some provisions that we'd rather not be in this agreement, but they are basically laid out by statute. And so we're kind of stuck with it. They're not terrible, but we'd rather not have a couple of them in there, such as we pay for lost profit. But it is what it is.
All right, thank you, Drew. Moving on, 2011-141. First reading, please.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the Code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by amending Article 2 of Chapter 12, Elections, Section 36, Wards.
Janice McMillan.
Yes, we had a public hearing on this matter just a little bit ago. This would amend the ward boundaries to option 2 in the presentation. The council will consider for final passage this bill on February 20.
Any questions of Janice? Okay, moving on, we'll have first reading of Bill 2011-142.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning 4.28 acres located in the 1600 block of Hazelton Drive from RS3 low-density residential to PUD planned unit development described as part of the east half of Section 1 and part of the northwest quarter of Section 1, all in Township 44 North, Range 12 West in the city of Jefferson, Cole County, Missouri.
Janice.
Thank you, Mayor. This bill came out of the Planning and Zoning Commission's January meeting. Public hearing will be on February 20th in this council chamber at 6 p.m. This particular bill involves the two properties. One property is owned by the Chins. The other property is owned by a development company in which Mr. Otke is a partner. Consists of, currently the development consists of a little over 10 acres. There's a single-family home located on this property at the current time. The property boundaries are depicted in yellow. Here's the existing house on the property, and there's a couple of outbuildings on the property as well. This shows the extension over to Hazelton Drive. This distance is approximately 50 feet, a little less than 50 feet, on which the driveway is located at the current time. What is proposed is a single-family residential subdivision of 15 lots. The existing house, shown right here, will occupy Lot 2. The outbuildings will be torn down. This also shows the current location in the vicinity of the other development in the area. It shows the location of the proposed 15-lot subdivision. Continuing on with the perspective, just wanted to show what the development history has been in this area. In 1954, this area along Hazelton Drive existed. In fact, this subdivision, Sunset Place Edition, was platted in 1926. It was quite a large subdivision, but by 1954, this area along Hazelton Drive was developed. This area on Chicago Road was developed with 28 lots. And then a separate subdivision, Walenko Place, was platted in 1929, and that consisted of 113 lots. And just to orient you, this is West Main, and this is Boonville Road, Hazelton Drive, and Walenko Place, you'll know, is the platting Circle Streets. By 1960, you see the area hasn't changed all that much. This development that occurred early is there, obviously, and this area was added along Allen Drive. Even though this area in here was platted with Sunset Place Edition, it did not develop. By 1960, had not developed. The Allen Drive area was constructed by 1960 with 9 lots. There was an area that was unplatted. This is Meets and Bounds development, was not included in any subdivision, and that developed with 5 lots. That's shown on the previous slide. You can see there was already some fill going on in 1954 for that little Meets and Bounds development there. And then another subdivision came along, major subdivision that added Beverly Drive. That was 11 lots. That was added, I believe, in the 50s. In addition to the Sunset Place subdivision, this was replatted sometime between 1960 and 1974, and that added 35 lots. By 1996, this aerial reflects a lot of the subdivision activity that was occurring in the 1980s. In the 1980s, River Hills Edition added 58 lots. That involved an extension from Hazelton Drive of the street called Riverwood. It also involved an extension of the street called Delta Place, and this is Paddle Wheel Circle. And also in that decade, Sylvan Hill subdivision was added. That consisted of 35 lots, and that's north, a little farther north off of Boonville Road. So to bring you back to the the current proposal. Today, what is on under consideration is a 15-lot single-family subdivision. Currently, the Chin property is zoned RS3. Consists of 4.28 acres. The PUD area previously was zoned PUD for a condominium development that is no longer in the plan. That plan has been abandoned. And so together these two properties consist of a little over 10 acres, and this is the 15-lot subdivision on which is proposed. This view shows the actual layout with the street coming from Hazelton Drive and ending into cul-de-sac with the lots. These will be river oriented lots. The lots range in size from a little over a quarter acre to a little over 1 acre. So it exceeds the density requirement of the RS3 district, which is adjacent to it. This is a view of where the new street will go. Currently, the driveway is located on this section, and this is the driveway that's across the street, taken from that driveway, looking into the Chin property. Again, the proposal is for a 15-lot single-family residential subdivision with the new street, River Bluff Court, and of course, the development complies with all the applicable codes: stormwater, Chapter 31, streets and sidewalks, Chapter 32, the subdivision code, Chapter 33, with the exception of the cul-de-sac length. The subdivision code contains a provision that stipulates a maximum length of a cul-de-sac is 800 feet. One of the things the subdivision code does is it encourages connectivity. And so that's why that provision is there. This particular cul-de-sac will be 1,000 feet long. So a variance was issued for the length of the cul-de-sac. It's not an unusual situation, not common, but there are other areas in our community where we have long subdivision cul-de-sacs. And I can give you a list of those if you wish. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Janice this evening on this first part of Hazelton? Seeing none, we'll have, sorry, Ralph?
I was slow in getting my hand up. Janice, I compliment you and the staff on the preparation of all kinds of information and material that you've provided the council. And it's given me lots and lots of information. I've ended up with lots of questions, and having read all this stuff, I still have just a single question to ask at this time. At the entrance off of Hazelton onto the new street, it looks very narrow right there. There's a house to the north and a house to the south that are existing, and I see it, and then the driveway, a small narrow driveway right in the middle. And then the developer, I see, has placed some stakes to help the neighbors recognize where the street curbs would be and so on.
Yes.
How do you get a city street between those two houses without coming up with more ground to put the street in?
Mm-hmm. Currently, the space that you see here was actually one lot and part of another in Sunset Place addition. So the space actually is shown on the plat as 50 feet from this property line on the north to the property line on the south. So the plat actually shows there being 50 feet. With the modern survey equipment that we use today, we didn't have in 1926 when this subdivision was platted. The survey equipment shows the actual distance between, the measured distance between property line to property line of 48.5 feet. So it's 1.5 feet short of 50 feet as shown on the plat. But there's adequate room to put a street in this section. In fact, the minimum standard in our codes call for a right-of-way width of 50 feet, and that allows you to put the smallest street is 24 feet. So there's adequate space. The plan shows a 25-foot street in this space.
Did the developer acquire any additional land from either of the neighbors to put the street in, or to assist with the?
There was a parcel division survey that was approved in 2009 by the Director of Community Development, and that proposed some transfer of land between the property that's on the south side of the driveway. That would have transferred 6 square feet right here at the corner in exchange for some land toward the back. Currently, there's the setback between the property line and the house to the south is little over 5 feet. If the parcel division is looked at, and that transfer occurs, the setback from that will be 15 feet. So there is an advantage to the property owner on the south to have that parcel division because it adds another 10 feet of setback to that south line.
So the property owner on the south and the developer worked out a deal to trade some land?
It would appear so in 2009 when that parcel division was
All right, thank you.
agreed to.
Okay, Councilman Kuhn.
Has that land actually been transferred?
No, it has not transferred.
Legally, is the property owner required to transfer it, or is this something that is debatable at this point?
I guess that would be between those property owners.